The benefits of hybrids in the Philippines are simply undeniable, despite the fact that HEVs have actually been here for quite some time. But yet, since then, their sales have really rocketed, maybe because of, let's say, rising fuel costs, or the fact that they're exempted from the number coding scheme when it comes to the NCR. Now, with Toyota basically running the show with HEVs, thanks largely to the launch of their new cars such as the Yaris Cross and the Xenix Hybrid, GWM now wants to throw its hat in the ring and show that it can keep up with these established names. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the GWM Haval H6 HEV. That's a lot of H's, I know. So on this episode of Behind the Wheel, I want to take a look at, obviously, the interior quality of this automobile and find out just exactly how comfortable it is, both for passengers and if it has enough space for cargo. But more importantly, I also want to find out if the hybrid system of this car is good enough to compete with the likes of, say, the Corolla Cross or maybe even the RAV4. We start with the exterior of the automobile, and on the front clip, you cannot miss this grille. It is huge, it's textured, it's very unique, very different. I'm loving it. This, however, not so much. It's a little too much, a little too blue, a little too baby blue. I'm not a fan of that, but this grille, really, you cannot miss this grille. Now, on either side of the grille, it is flanked by projector LED headlamps and fog lamps down below with a few chrome accents. And then at the rear, you've got large taillights that span the width of the automobile. It really makes for a very modern look despite being on a pretty standard body overall. Down the side, you have blacked out 19s, giving it somewhat a stealthy look, if you can say that, which also gives it a ground clearance of 170 millimeters. We couldn't find exact specs for the local units, so that's really just an estimate. I gotta tell you, I'm digging this shade of somewhat grayish blue, and it's paired very well with the black accents of piano blacks, mind you, which I don't mind, found here, here, and obviously above the automobile. Piano blacks outside the car are okay for me because it's more of an inside problem than it is an outside problem, and I'm saying that it looks good. The only thing is that I'm not too sure about the chrome accent found down below. It works up front because the grille itself has chrome accents, but here I kind of wish that was actually piano black. I never thought I'd say this, but that chrome actually works at the rear. Because at the back, you've got a chrome accent found here that spans the width of the car, but it works well because the Haval logo is also quite large and it's chrome as well. It's a little too big, but hey, at least it works. And then, like I mentioned, you've got lights that span the entire width of the car, and then very, very odd-looking brake lights. The shape is okay, but the fact that it's split in two, they both work. It's just, I don't know, something different. I'm thinking it's a bit much. Hey, before we continue, I really want to show you these three cool things that I found on the automobile. I don't want to jump the gun or anything, but I can't wait to show these to you. First is the fact that you will find a cute little fire extinguisher at the rear. Now, I don't know if that's calming or alerting. It's probably calming because they just want you to be safe. And besides, I can't help but mention it because it's so tiny, it's so cute. You normally have partial hooks for the rear passengers, but here you have one for the front passenger with a tiny little hook that comes out. It's so cute. I want to rip it out and chew it and eat it. Oh my God, that hurt. Ow. Bottle holders that adjust. Here in the center, flip that. And if your bottle is too big for this particular area here, it can fit here because it's a much larger hole. And then if you want to use this just as basically storage, check this out. This whole thing folds. And bada bim, bada boom, look at that, so much storage space. Up front, the H6 has a heads-up display, but not just any heads-up display, it's actually colored. And then finally, a kick function that actually works. Unlike other car companies, I'm not gonna say who, but others out there, you kick and kick and kick until you actually have a divot on your shin. Not fun. And by the time you're all tired, dying with whatever groceries that you have to carry. I don't think people carry groceries in a balikbayan box though. This is just to show that when you open her up, you're looking at 600 liters of space, minus of course what the cute little extinguisher occupies, which is more than enough to carry a balikbayan box. A second one might be an issue because you do have your wheel arcs here at the rear, but it's more than enough space to put, let's say for example, a carry-on luggage. When you fold the seats, you're looking at over 1,400 liters of space, which we think is already a lot of space. But in comparison to the RAV4, that automobile has over 1,900 liters of space, which is just a whopping number. If you'd like to know more about the RAV4, the links are in the description down below. One thing that gets me to wonder, however, is that they've put so much effort and thought into making sure that this car has a lot of space in the back. What does that mean for the comfort for the passengers inside? Let's find out. Where's the, oh, there it is. Considering you've got 600 liters of space in the back, it's actually quite surprising how much space you have here in the second row. This is Jack's normal driving position, and yet look at the amount of leg room that I have. Look at the amount of headroom that I have, even though that there is a panoramic roof up on top. The space back here is ridiculous. And look, there's no center tunnel either. So even if you were to put a medium-sized adult in the center, it would be possible to fit large adults on either side. It's quite roomy. Very, very surprising. Now the toys back here, well, there are good points and there are bad points to the toys. Let me point out the good points. Obviously, I already mentioned the panoramic roof, which really, really looks great. You have a sunroof for up front, panoramic roof for the back. The other good thing about this is that, unlike most panoramic roofs, when you close the shade, it's actually just a piece of cloth and light still comes in. This is solid, so it's completely blacked out. The color scheme of the seats is very good. It's just the right amount of black and brown with white stitching. The bolsterings aren't too predominant, so getting in and out of the automobile is quite easy, even for senior citizens. Unlike the Jolion, where the review is somewhere down below, by the way, the color of the leather there was a bit too white, maybe for some, might not fit. This one, it's a bit more pleasing to the eyes. I like it much better. Up front, you've got air vents, 2 air vents, and then directly underneath that, you have 2 USB charging points. Type A's, but charging points nonetheless. And then, of course, a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, that's the good stuff. The bad stuff, well, okay, here we go. You do have 2 cup holders in the center armrest. Unfortunately, it isn't big enough even to hold my bottle, even if I push it in there. Not so great. So smaller bottles, definitely not Jack's, but let's say plastic bottles, that will fit. And then not so good are the door cards. There are cards, but there's not enough space there to even hold the bottle. I mean, there's not even a divot for a bottle holder there. It's just, you can fit your phone there, no issues, or even an iPad, but no bottle holders. First time I've ever seen that. And then, while this is great, the brushed aluminum here on the door is really nice, you have piano blacks in high touch areas, like near the button. And I'm just touching it now and look, right? The piano blacks all over. Not so nice. In general, though, it is still very much a comfortable cabin back here, but there are good and bad points. But I think at this point right here, I'd say that the good points do outweigh the bad points, except for my water bottle. I really wish I could rest it properly somewhere. Up front, comfort for the driver and the passenger is great because the seats, the materials are the same as all over the cabin, obviously, and they feel good. You've got power seats to bring you to your driving position, and not only power seats for the driver, you got power seats for the passenger as well. And then as a bonus, both these seats are ventilated. You've got cold air that comes in, which is absolutely great in Metro Manila heat. In the center, your instrument cluster is a 10.25-inch screen that has a trip computer in the center, and then it also tells you whether you're running on just full batteries or your engine, and it tells you if it needs to power up the engine to put even more power into the automobile. So when you're inside the car and you start her up, It's really, really quiet because it's running all on batteries, but the air will come on, and then eventually the engine will fire up if it needs more juice. In the center of it all, you've got a 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Unfortunately, all the other functions of the car, like its drive modes, are found inside that system as well. So it's a bit cumbersome to get to, but the great thing is that even the 360 camera on this thing is very, very clear, and it's very seamless really to go through the menus. It's quite easy. The problem is that there's a lot of layers to get into whatever it is that you need to. Down below, you've got shortcut buttons for your air. Unfortunately, to control the air and it's the amount of air that's coming in or the temperature, you need to go back to the screen again, which I mentioned. And if you're on Apple CarPlay, then you got to go back to the menu once again. And again, it's a bit of a hassle, but it does work properly. Beneath that, you've got your rotary dial here for your drive. You can easily get to drive or reverse by just simply spinning it, and then it's just one notch in the opposite direction of whatever gear that you're in to put it in reverse. Park is simply press and you're done. Electronic parking brake and auto hold. Cubby holes around the automobile, or rather up front, are good because in the sense that I can fit even Jack's bottle here underneath. There's a lot of space, and beside it I can even put my bottle. So now my bottle actually has a place. That is, of course, if you're a driver. And then on the door, unlike the rear, there are bottle holders on the door that can fit even my tall bottle, which is the only tall thing in my life other than my son, of course. It can fit on the door. Quite snug, but it does fit. And then in the center, this is actually pretty big. Look at this. It can fit even Jack's bottle in there. Look at that. Huh? Boom. That one actually shocked me. Now, while there is no wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, there is a wireless charger, which is great. What isn't so great is where it's housed, because this area right here is full of piano blacks. That's a lot of real estate with piano black, and it's a fingerprint magnet, and that is unfortunate. What is fortunate, however, is, look, I've never been a fan of screens that aren't integrated into the dash very, very well. I don't like it that they stick out. But in this case, I don't mind because of the way it's positioned. It's just below the eye level, or the bottom line rather, of the windshield, and it doesn't impede your view. And actually, because it's in a horizontal position instead of it being vertical, it's actually easier to look at when you're driving. You don't need to scan going down and then up and then back onto the road again. So it feels like it's much easier to look at this guy. And the fact that it does look a heck of a lot better, and I'm not knocking on anybody, okay, but it does look a hell of a lot better than the CRT looking thing that you get inside the RAV4. Oh, and before we go on a drive, I found that there is a bit of a bonus inside this car in the form of ambient lighting. Now, most cars out there do have ambient lighting, but not like this, because this panel right here, where it may look like just a solid piece and leather covering it, when you turn the lights on, the pattern that emerges is just really out of this world. I quite like that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos. We create all of these videos just for you guys, and I know that you guys want to help us get to, at the very least, 500,000 subscribers, on our way to 1 million. One of the few questions that you may have, and I'm sure that you know that I'm being sarcastic here, is what's exactly underneath the hood? Well, I can tell you that it is a 1.5-liter, 4-cylinder, turbocharged gasoline engine that is paired with an electric motor. Now, the both of them are, of course, mated to a DHT, which is a dedicated hybrid transmission. The output of the engine is, get ready for this, it produces 240 horses and 530 Newton meters of torque. To put that in perspective, a car that we've been comparing this against is the Toyota RAV4 HEV. Now, that automobile produces all of 175 horses and 221 Newton meters of torque. You see the large disparity there? But that's what the figures are on paper. However, regardless of how astronomically ridiculous the figures are, it really does not feel like it carries 530 Newton meters of torque. And I know a little something about automobiles that carry that amount of torque. For instance, the Kia EV6. Now that one has 180 Newton meters less than what this is claimed to have. But when you step on the accelerator of the EV6, it's like it wants to rip your face off. In here, even in sport mode, when I floor it, well, there is a kick, but it really feels like it's just powdering your face. Strange. A major concern of mine getting into this automobile was just exactly how smooth the transition was going to be from, let's say, internal combustion engine to electric motor and then back again, because we've had experiences where it's not so pretty. In this case, however, pleasantly surprised. Whether you're stuck in traffic or coasting along the highway, the transition is actually quite smooth. I don't want to use the word shocked, but I'm just really happy that they've been able to sort it out so well. For example, right now I'm puttering along at 30, well, I'm slowing down, obviously, making a right-hand turn, but I'm doing 10 to 30 kilometers per hour, and right now it's telling me I'm BEV driving, or battery electric vehicle driving. Now I'm going to step on it a little bit more. The engine now comes alive. I don't feel at all it toggling from battery to internal combustion engine, from motor to engine. The drivetrain just picks it up very, very well. And then even when you get sporty with it, it's just very, very seamless. Now the suspension is, well, there's two sides to it. It's quite soft, and I like it because obviously this is a crossover and I want to be as comfortable as possible. But then you kind of revert back to what the paper says, 530 Newton meters of torque, and with that much power, you'd expect the suspension to be a bit stiffer. Now, I'm not saying that I want it to be stiffer, I'm just saying that with 530, it should be. Driving along normally, no issues. I like the fact that it's soft, but when I do start to get, well, a little heavy on the right foot, which I will accelerate to right now, the suspension for me is a little too soft. Like when I floor it, it kind of starts to look up at the sky. Not a lot, but yeah, there is. And then here's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna do some pretty hard braking. I'm gonna bring it down really fast, and it seems like it dives quite a lot. Not something that you'd expect from something that should have stiffer suspension if you do have 530 Newton meters of torque. So what I'm coming out of this is, I think it would do better with a bit, not harsher, not stiffer, a bit more stable suspension. However, if you are much more of a city dweller and you're not gonna drive it like you stole this automobile from Jack, then trust me, the suspension should be just fine. Again, this automobile tends to lean towards more the comfortable sides of things, sometimes a bit too comfortable. It's less sporty. However, if you are looking for something sportier, still a hybrid, mind you, then might I suggest you take a look at the Toyota Corolla Cross GRS, which we have a walk around of. The link is somewhere down below. That is most definitely leans towards more the sportier side, and if that's what you're looking for, might just fit the bill. And yet another major concern for those looking into a hybrid would obviously be fuel consumption. Now, again, I'll say it again, we'd love to compare this up to the RAV4 HEV. Now, inside that automobile combined, we were able to do 17 kilometers per liter, which is already great, right? Inside this automobile, this H6, we were inside the city, drove it out on the highway, and then got stuck in a bit of traffic outside in the province already. And we were able to do, believe it or not, 18 kilometers per liter. So yeah, definitely not bad. Inside the city in heavy traffic is where I guess a lot of people really want to know what it's like. And I can tell you, heavy traffic inside this automobile, 13 kilometers per liter, which again, if you could see the amount of traffic that we traversed through, yeah, 13 kilometers per liter, not too shabby at all. The advanced driver assist systems inside this automobile are great. You got a lot of tech, I like it. all the bells and whistles are always going to be good because I like it. If you're going to be pricing the car at X amount, then it's better to have them there and you be the one to turn them off if you don't like it. However, it can get a little bit too much, a little over. Like, look, when you're driving certain Hondas, when you turn on your indicator to the right, you will notice that the screen will turn on because the camera on the right-hand side will turn on to help you with your blind spot, which is great. However, inside this automobile, not only will the cameras turn on when you indicate and to the right, it will also turn on when you're turning to the left. And not just at stop and then you make a left. No, even at crawling speeds, when you turn, it turns on, the camera turns on, and it displays it on your screen. Now, it's a great aid, but it sometimes can get irritating if you're not used to it when you're driving and all of a sudden it comes on. Because in my defense, I'm thinking that, oh my goodness, I may have done something wrong and the car is alerting me. In this case, the car's actually telling me, I want to help you. Bruh, you need to have a Coke and a smile. Chill, I got this. Now to turn it off, we've been trying, but we gotta delve in very, very deep into the system. And even Jack, who likes to do more than just press buttons on the camera and slide stuff on the screen, even he's having a hard time trying to turn it off. Have you found it already?
No.
Till now? But the rest of the systems actually work really, really great. And you can turn them off if you don't like it. Like the lane keep can be a little intrusive. The blind spot can be a bit loud. So those things you can turn off and just drive your merry way. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not like we have a lot of experience with GWM cars. In fact, the only other automobile prior to this H6 would be the Joliet. And that we found okay. So the expectations are rather low, really, because you want to start fresh and you want to give them a chance. In this particular automobile, it seems as if that it comes to you and says, go ahead and test me. I got it. And for the most part, I think it does. You know, the plus I love about HEVs also is recovery mode. Like you can be driving, then you release the accelerator, and then it's recovering right now. There's a charge, and when you step on the brake, it charges. It feels like you're not wasting anything. I love that. I love it because I really am the cheapest person on the planet. I'm so cheap that I'll bring my cell phone to the gym without any charge just so that I can charge it there, so that I don't have to pay for the electricity to charge my cell phone. That's how cheap I am.
Seriously?
Yes. Yeah, are you recording this? Dude! You know, I gotta say, I am thoroughly impressed with the H6 HEV. Now, sure, it does have a few shortcomings that go up against it. Like, for instance, the suspension could be a little bit stiffer, it's a little soft. The execution of the interior could be a bit better. Less piano blacks in there, more cubby holes. But in general, as a whole, I think HEV buyers would be happy with this automobile. And then there's the fact that I was quite skeptical getting into this thing because of the hybrid. But the truth is, I think GWM has done a good job with this. Okay, so here's the thing. It's not exactly the most affordable thing out there, but it's also not that expensive because it does come in at 1,888,000 in Philippine pesos. The RAV4, if you think about it, comes in at over 2,600,000 Philippine pesos. Now, I do understand that Toyota's got reliability up the wazoo, but it doesn't necessarily always have reliability for availability because those things sell like hotcakes. But if you are looking for an HEV with, well, sleek styling, somewhat of a swanky interior tech that's really up to date, well, tell you what, whip out your phone like I am doing right now, head on over to the AutoDeal app, go to GWM, try the Get Quote button, because I've got the feeling you'd be very impressed, not just with the app, but with the car too. Ah?